we're artists in our craft, we're artists in our creative field, but I feel like it really just goes down to your support and at your core, who are you and what influences that.
Nice.
Portraits, usually of figures from Black culture, like movies or music artists.
I'm more than just an artist, you feel me? I went to school, I went to college, I got my master's, computer science.
On my computer, I can do everything. I can design stuff, graphic design, photography, photography.
I only took one photography class in college, but even beyond that, before I even was a jewelry major, originally I was a vocal performance major because I wanted to be an artist.
The name Urban Reforming Company came to me after multiple attempts at other brands and designers, just kind of like trial and error, which is where the name Urban Reform came. It kind of talks about my change and my story as I came through the fashion design business or process.
My tagline is actually compliment her, because I want women to feel complimented whenever they're wearing my things. I want them to be complimented when they're wearing my things.
I handle most of the business administration, the operations. I do all the boring stuff, like make sure that the contracts are paid, make sure that the invoices are sent off, sending off all the legal paperwork that we need to go ahead and like the project.
I'm Denise myself.
My name is Sancho Smalls.
ISOZA, that's ISOZAH.
Kaylin Devon.
My name is Khalil Lloyd.
Keith Haney.
My name is Danny and Caleb.
My real name is Chris, but Chris is boring. Like everybody's name is fucking Chris.
Somebody called ISO, that mean like clear the lane, I'm about to get a bucket. So I feel like how I'm approaching the music game is like ISO. Like I'm focused, I'm zoned in, and basically just like, no distractions.
When you Google Christopher Smalls, you get Biggie Smalls because Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls. And so it was always like my website and then some shit from Biggie.
When I think about like a lot of the large companies that have grown into like $1 billion companies, like Johnson & Johnson or the Waltons, you got Walmart, you know, it just made sense for us to not reinvent the wheel, you know, and just use our last name.
Mizell is my last name, and everything is by me. My last name is very unique. People started kind of picking it up and like calling me Mizell since like high school, so I just kind of took off and ran with it. It sounds very luxury.
My mother works in African history, art, and culture, so she got some ancestry work done. And like one of my 6th great grandfather's name was Sancho. And I just thought it was a dope name. Like I've never heard anybody named Sancho. I believe that if you know like the name of your ancestors, any of them, you should speak that shit. By taking on his name, I feel like my work has gotten stronger, more money, more gigs have come my way.
It started off as Screw, and I was mixing songs up, and like the signature piece would be like slow motion, and like when the transition would come in. So from there, we just kept building. Like we went to Miami, he was like, shit, I'm trying to start rapping. And I was like, well, all the rappers got videographers. So I was like, shit, let me start figuring out this Final Cut and Premiere.
I always knew that I had something when it came to fashion. Like I love to dress, but I took it more so as a hobby. So it really wasn't until I took a styling job at Nordstrom when I started to see that this could actually be more than just a hobby.
When I first started my corporate career, I immediately realized that that's not something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It was the spark that really allowed me to venture into entrepreneurship full time.
I made one painting, I think it was like the Lil' Kim painting that I did was the very first one, and people liked it. Like it went viral, and I was like, what? All my paintings are in my closet. What do you mean you like my art? And I think it was at that point that I was like, okay, well, if I keep doing this and I keep, you know, kind of making the same type of art, you know, maybe they'll appeal to more people, and it did.
Photography came from like doing graduation shoots. Like when you're on campus, you do $65 graduation shoots while you're a student. Like you can make easily like hundreds of dollars just because you know some of the college students who need photos.
Rap never was really in my plans. Like growing up, I always had like a love for music, and I always felt like I always listened to like a lot of different types of music. And one day I was in the studio with one of my boys, and he was making music. He rapped, like he been rapping for a minute, and like I was just rocking with the vibes and everything. And like when we had left the studio session, I just told him, I was like, hey bro, I feel like I can make music. And he had basically just told me, he was like, bro, just do that shit. So I'm like, I couldn't say nothing. I'm just like, all right. Like, I said I could do something. He said like, yo, just do it. So then I had to start rapping.
We were all pretty much creative in our own right. Our mother, she is from Suriname, South America. She spent some time over in the Netherlands, and she did fashion design over there. And my father, he grew up skating. He grew up performing martial arts, practicing martial arts. So we grew up watching him perform, watching him skate, going to Central Park. Kind of like that road bounce scene back in like the 80s.
I lived in Japan for 2 years. The culture out there is very fashion forward, to be honest. Even though where I was in Okinawa, it was very hot, they don't care about that. They're gonna dress to the T every day from top to bottom. And because they're more covered, I think I actually took on with that. Aside from my church background where I already feel like I have to be covered.
I think all of the artists or things I've picked to paint just remind me of my childhood. It's a nostalgic feeling. It's those feel-good moments, kind of like I'll be sitting somewhere and I'll hear a song that I like. And I'm like, oh, that'd be a nice artist to paint. I can listen to their music while I paint them. Like, it'll be a good time. It'll be a good feeling for me. It'll make me happy.
I love history, so I love pulling from like the greats. You know, I pull from like Fred Hampton, obviously Malcolm, Martin, or even like Toussaint Louverture. I love pulling from like African history as well. So I love learning about like Mansa Musa and, you know, the Moors that ruled in Africa.
One of my favorite artists coming from Philly is Meek Mill. Being from Philly and him being an artist from Philly, like I really got to see somebody come from nothing, really turn up on the music tip, you know what I'm saying, grind, and really make something out of it.
My creative inspiration, I would say, would probably be Kanye.
Number one, Hanifa Official.
To be honest, it'll probably be Big Sean. Sound crazy. Me and him, I feel like have a lot of similar taste and touch. So when I design and create, kind of think of things in that sense of, you know, is this something that I could see Big Sean wearing? I feel like he's a fashion staple within the game.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the late great Nipsey Hussle. Like, he's one of my like greatest inspirations, just in terms of like business, you know, just being a man in general, and then from an artistic perspective as well.
My mom is an artist, and my mom has pushed me harder than anyone else. Sometimes I'll send her pictures of projects I'm working on, and she will go in on me. She will slay me, cut me up, fry me, serve me for dinner. She will be like, no, that's off, and she'll send me 10 different reference pictures of what I'm supposed to be painting, and I'm like, no, just tell me it's good. And she's like, no, it's not. So I definitely think having her around is like inspiration to just like be a better person, be a better artist, like really meet my full potential as a person. Because I think, you know, we're artists in our craft, we're artists in our, you know, creative field, but I feel like it really just goes down to your support and at your core, who are you and what influences that, and that's my mom.
My best work comes out from other creatives or people who already have a dope personality or a dope personal style that I can either look at their Instagram, I already kind of know them like personally, and what I'm trying to do is amplify what they already are. Right now, you're like a man, you know, you're human. I'm trying to show you as like if you were a divinity, what would your icons and your adornments look like? What would what would that space, that aura around you look like? More so than changing somebody, it's always about just like building them up.
For the most part, like there isn't a lot of like planning before the design. Like the most part, the idea will come in my head and then the plan comes from there. It's not like it's a plan 5 months in advance, 6 months in advance or whatever. Like the plan starts maybe Monday and it might get out on Friday.
I came up rapping in studios that like look like a closet. You feel me? So when it comes to the studio, it don't even matter. I just need the quality to be there. I done did performances where it's been 5 to 10 people. I done did performances where it's been over 100, 200 people. It don't matter. Every time it's a performance, ISO gonna turn up. ISO.
Like 2 separate times that I've had productions, and I legit like started crying. Like it was just like a moment where I was just really proud of what we did, and it legit like it felt like I don't drink or smoke, but it felt like the closest what I would be to like being high and an orgasm, and also like being caught in like the Holy Ghost at the same time. Yeah. Everything but the happy ending. All I could do was fucking cry. I was like, yo, this is fucking dope. Like, we created some dope shit. Like, and that's always the fucking goal. Y'all make me cry on set. Like, we good.
What motivates me to keep going? My daughter. Period.
My grandmother, she's one of my biggest motivations. So this is something that I talked to her about doing before she passed away. So like since she passed away, it's kind of just been an added motivation to make sure that it happens, to make sure that it gets done.
I got a team, I got family, I got all these people behind me that support me. Ever since I started rapping, I got all these people behind me supporting me. You feel me? And why I want to let them down?
When I was a single parent, she had me in college. I was conceived at Alpha frat party. She's probably gonna kill me for saying that. But yo, like I feel like that energy that I was conceived in, like the fun, the passion, like that's really like what I am. And you know, because she had me, she ended up not finishing school, but like I never lacked for anything growing up. And so I just want to make sure she's taken care of.
Every show I had in college, my mom lives in Wilmington, which is 3.5 hours away. And she would work all day and still drive to my art shows in the afternoon. And I didn't even have to ask. I never had to ask. I never had to ask for help. I never had to beg her for anything.
Man, 20 years.
I want to say that
I want to say that
I want to say that everybody knows girl.
I helped some people like evolve in their creative process and journey.
I want women to feel those same vibes that I get when I get complimented. So to take my design and put it on them would just mean everything to me. It just seems like it's my purpose, and I know it's my purpose.
I just want all my family and friends, close friends, to just say they was proud of the road I took. You know what I'm saying? They proud of how I progressed. And they just proud of like the artist I turned into.
Man, I just want to leave this world better than I found it.
My 20-year future self scares me because I know that what is destined for me is beyond anything that I can ever imagine.
My biggest goal in this whole fashion game, in this fashion world, is to be able to create opportunities that weren't there for me.
I just want to know that I made myself proud.
I would definitely say that I was able to take care of my mom and also other family members and everybody else who's like supporting me along the way.
I realized that tomorrow's never promised and life is but a vapor. So while I would love to live to see 48 in 20 years, I'm so focused on the present right now that I'm just really committed to giving this my all.
In 20 years, there'll still be work to be done. Like, I'll be so busy looking forward that hopefully I'm not talking about, you know, what I've done in the past 20 years rather than what I'll be doing the next 10, the next 20.